Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sentinel. Today I want to discuss the nomination of Vice Admiral Michael Buzz Donnelly. He was nominated by President Trump and Secretary Hegseth and was confirmed by the Senate to command the 7th Fleet out of Yokosuka, Japan. As an aside, I've been to Yokosuka, Japan. In fact, I spent a night in jail in Yokosuka, but we'll share that story at another point. So what's happened now is his nomination has been withdrawn by Pete Hegseth. And so he's going to remain as a Rear Admiral. Basically, his career is over. He's a decorated officer with over 3 decades of service across the Indo-Pacific. He happens to be from Hartford, Connecticut. I know Hartford, Connecticut, because I was raised in West Hartford, Connecticut. He was born in 1967. In 1989, he graduated from Villanova University through the Naval ROTC program and joined the Navy and became an F-14 Tomcat pilot. After that, transitioned to the F-18s. And later on, he commanded the Fighter Strike Squadron 154. Then following that, he was the CEO of USS Denver. I've been on the USS Denver, fine ship. And later on, commanded the USS Ronald Reagan from around 2016 to 2018. Now, here comes the rub. At that time, it was common in the Navy to hold different types of morale-boosting events. Now, some of you squids out there are fairly familiar with the line-crossing ceremonies. You know, the shellback ceremonies and all that, you know, where goofy things happen. They make you walk the plank and, do all sorts of weird stuff. So it's similar to that. Those are like morale-building, team-building events that happen. So at that point in the Navy, they used to have these sort of drag queen dances on board the ship to boost morale. I personally think it's sick. It's crazy having a sailor dress up like a woman and dance around and all that stuff. Nonetheless, so between 2016 and 2018 on the USS Ronald Reagan, when Donnelly was the commanding officer, they used to host these events. And guess what? It came back to bite him in the butt because many conservative groups and influencers opposed his nomination to go to the 7th Fleet and command approximately 50 to 70 ships out there. And consequently, what has happened is the President and the Secretary of Defense have withdrawn Vice Admiral Buzz Donnelly's nomination to command the 7th Fleet. The problem I have with all this is there's been no misconduct on behalf of Donnelly whatsoever. He's definitely operationally very capable. He's got the right commands to be able to handle the responsibility that's associated with being commander of the 7th Fleet. In the process, he's also commanded a carrier strike group as well. So my issue is not about Donnelly. Yeah, he had a drag show because that was a norm at the time in the Navy, and everybody was doing it. But we're going to penalize this guy for it. And I personally think that's wrong because it's a dangerous precedent. And we've talked about this before, about outside groups influencing promotions and positions of military officers. It's very dangerous because we're politicizing the military. You know, frankly, yeah, what he did was wrong in the current environment, but back then it was accepted. So he was just doing what was normal at the time. Now, looking back on it, it was pretty damn stupid. In my view, if I was the commander of USS Ronald Reagan, which I never would be, I wouldn't have done it because to me it's just unprofessional having men dress up like women and prance around and all that stuff. Keep in mind, I've been very critical of our senior leadership because I think, they just lack the ability to push back. Now, at the time, he was a captain, and maybe he should have pushed back and said, I'm not doing it. But he didn't. Although he's very capable operationally, we're deciding, he doesn't meet the qualifications for something that happened 7 years ago, which was a drag queen dance, or whatever the hell they did. I've never seen one of these. I think I'd puke if I saw one. The President and the Secretary of Defense should not be making military operational decisions based on political pressure from outside groups. This is a bad precedent to establish because what's going to happen is, the pendulum's going to swing the other way, and then you're going to get the liberal outside groups forcing their way into the military and imposing their views and their promotions. So I think it's very, very important that our military needs to remain impartial and that our selection of officers should be based on merit and their operational and leadership qualities. The military's got a standard. We got to establish that standard and stick to it. Now, Granted, in the past, the liberal groups influenced these drag shows and all this horse shit that went on. But, let's just do away with all that stuff and let's get beyond it. We want the most qualified people leading our sailors, airmen, soldiers, and Marines. Fundamentally, I just think it's flawed that the Senate has confirmed this officer to assume the duties. And at that point, none of this stuff was brought up. After the confirmation, all of a sudden, his nomination gets withdrawn. And I think that's wrong. So my concern mainly is protecting the military as an institution. If he's operationally qualified and Senate found him to be qualified and the president nominated him and he was confirmed, and then all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, we're going to withdraw the nomination and, set aside the confirmation and, basically end this guy's career because he's never going to get promoted. So please let me know what your thoughts are on this matter. It's an important matter because we don't want our military to get politicized and we don't want outside groups with their own ideological agendas deciding the promotion and assignment of our officers. That's all I got. Stay rugged, stay united. Khan out.